My father texted me coldly, "I disown you. All communication through my lawyer." I stared at the words. Then I replied with a single cold word, "Okay." Then I opened my laptop. I logged into my bank. I systematically canceled every single financial tie I had to them. The $2,400 automatic mortgage payment, the family cell phone plan, the business credit line I co-signed for. 48 hours later, my mom called in a panic. My coldness wasn't a phase, it was a conclusion. 48 hours before I was disowned, I received the evidence. My Uncle Daniel, my father's brother, forwarded me a video. The text just said, "Look at this." He must have meant to send it to someone else. I pressed play. It was a video from a family dinner at my father's house in suburban Ohio, a dinner I hadn't been invited to. The camera was shaky, but the voices were clear. My Aunt Marlene was laughing. My father, Richard, was holding a beer. "She's a good kid," my uncle said from behind the camera, "helping you out like this." My father snorted. "She's not a kid. She's an ATM. And a lonely one. She's so desperate for approval, she'd pay for the air we breathe if I asked her to." My brother Tyler chimed in. "It's honestly sad. She thinks sending dad money makes her important, but she's still just, Columbus." I watched my father raise his glass in a toast to my personal ATM. They all laughed. I didn't fry. As an auditor, my job is to find the rot beneath pristine ledgers, and I had just audited my own family. The numbers were staggering. 4 years earlier, my father's restaurant supply business had faltered. He was days from foreclosure on the house I grew up in. He and my mother Sharon had called me weeping. "You're the only one who can help, Emily. You're the responsible one." So I did. I agreed to cover the $2,400 mortgage payment every single month for 4 years. I did the math in my head. That was $115,200. You have to understand the invisible chains of the survivor. When you grow up as the scapegoat, you learn that love is transactional. Your worth is measured by your usefulness. You don't get affection. You earn a temporary pause in the hostility. Paying that mortgage wasn't generosity. It was a tax. It was the price I paid for peace. It was easier to send the money than to endure the screaming, the manipulation, the weaponized guilt of not caring about the family. I know what you're probably thinking. Why? Why would you do that for so long? Why would you let them treat you that way? And the cruelty in that video, that was the trap of normalized cruelty. In families like mine, everyone has a role. Tyler was the golden child. He could do no wrong. His failures were just bad luck. My failures were character flaws. I was the scapegoat, the one who existed to absorb the family's problems and their anger. They weren't just being mean, they were reinforcing a system that had worked for them for 30 years, and I was done being their ATM. My phone was silent for exactly 48 hours. Then the panic began. It rang on Tuesday morning just as I was pouring my coffee. My mother, Sharon. I let it ring 3 times, watched her name flash on the screen, then answered and put it on speaker. "Emily, what did you do?" Her voice wasn't calm. It was a thin, high-pitched shriek, tight with disbelief. "The bank just called your father. The mortgage payment was rejected. It's due today, Emily. You need to fix this right now." I waited until she had to stop to breathe. "I was disowned, Sharon," I said, my voice flat as the counter. "All communication goes through my lawyer." "What? What lawyer? Emily, don't be—" I hung up. My phone immediately exploded, a digital avalanche of entitlement. A text from my brother Tyler. "You're pathetic. Dad is ruined because of you. Fix this." Another from my Aunt Marlene. "Your mother is hysterical. Whatever childish game you're playing, you need to stop immediately and apologize." Childish game. They were still reading from the old script. They thought this was a tantrum. They thought I was a child throwing a fit for attention. They didn't realize I was an auditor calmly closing their books. I didn't reply to a single message. I didn't answer a single call. I opened my laptop and drafted an email. My hands weren't shaking. I'd sent hundreds of cold, factual emails in my career. This was just another one. The recipient list was long. My entire extended family. My Uncle Daniel, who sent the video. My Aunt Marlene, who laughed in it. My cousins. And several prominent members of their community. The same people who sat on the board of the small medical relief fund my father managed. The subject line was simple. Financial support for Richard. The message was shorter. As I have been formally disowned by Richard as of Sunday evening, this email is to notify that my ongoing financial support has concluded. For the sake of full transparency, I have attached a ledger of my support I have provided over the last 48 months, totaling $115,200. I have also attached a short video from a recent family gathering, which provides necessary context for my decision. Sincerely, Emily. Attachment 1, Mortgage Payment Ledger PDF. Attachment 2, Family Dinner Video MP4.
I stared at the attachments. Cold numbers, hot humiliation, facts and feelings side by side. My finger hovered. This wasn't ending an argument. This was detonating a reputation. I thought about the word ATM. I thought about the laughter. I clicked send. The fallout was immediate. The first response wasn't an apology, it was an attack. Within hours, a formal email arrived from a law firm I'd never heard of, a cease and desist. It accused me of defamation, harassment, and tortious interference with my father's business. It threatened a $75,000 lawsuit unless I issued a public apology and retraction. They thought a scary letterhead would make me crawl back. I laughed. I didn't get scared. I got a lawyer. I forwarded the email to a family attorney in Cincinnati, a woman with a reputation for being ruthless. She called me after reviewing everything. "They're bluffing," she said. "Defamation requires false statements. You have a ledger and a video. They don't have a case." "I know," I said, "but I don't just want to defend myself. I want you to investigate." As an auditor, I'd always suspected my father's books. He always called them sloppy. I think sloppy was a cover. "What are you thinking?" She paused. "Your father manages a small community medical fund, right? For an elderly woman, cancer patient." I nodded even though she couldn't see me. "I've reviewed his filings," she said. "They're creative." 2 days later, she called back. Her voice was different, grim. "Emily, it's worse than you thought. He didn't borrow from that fund. He systematically embezzled from it. Over 3 years. $60,000. Stealing from a cancer patient while taking mortgage money from his own daughter." My blood went cold. This wasn't family drama anymore. This was a crime scene, and my father was at the center of it. News like $60,000 stolen from a cancer patient's medical fund doesn't stay quiet for long. It took about a week for the story to rip through their small Ohio community. My father's name was suddenly everywhere, and not in the way he was used to. My brother, Tyler, in a move of pure golden child panic, did the dumbest thing he could have done. He tried to get ahead of it. He went on Facebook and posted a long, rambling public status. "I can't believe what my sister is doing to our family. She's always been jealous. My father is a good man. She was the auditor. She had access to the books. Now $60,000 is missing, and she's framing our father to steal his house." He thought he was controlling the narrative. Instead, he publicly confirmed the missing amount, admitted I was the auditor, and handed the victim's family a clear target. The Harrison family had been hesitant, heartbroken, unsure who to trust. Tyler's post made them furious. That afternoon, my lawyer called me, and I could hear the smile in her voice. "You're not going to believe this. The Harrison family just filed a criminal complaint for embezzlement and conspiracy to defraud. They named your father, and they named your brother. Their lawyer called his post a public confession of his involvement in a cover-up." The confrontation I had imagined my entire life didn't arrive with shouting or threats. It came with a knock. A week later, I opened my apartment door and saw my father standing there. He looked small, not the tyrant from the video, just a terrified old man, unshaven, red-eyed, exhausted. "Emily," he said, his voice breaking, "please, they're talking about arresting me. Fraud. You have to help me. You're my daughter." He wrung his hands. "You're the auditor. You can fix this. Just to tell them it was a mistake. Help me pay for a better lawyer. Please." I looked at him. The man who called me my ATM. The man who disowned me. Now begging me to be my ATM one last time. I said nothing. I reached into my bag and pulled out a folded piece of paper and handed it to him. "What's this?" he asked as he unfolded it. It was a copy of the criminal complaint. I watched his eyes scan the page until they stopped on the second name listed. "Tyler? You should probably give that to his lawyer too," I said. His head snapped up, confusion and horror fighting on his face. "I was disowned, remember? Talk to my lawyer." I closed the door. That "Okay" I sent him was a quiet word, but it was the most violent act of my life. It set off a chain reaction no one could stop. The collapse didn't come all at once. It came in controlled demolitions. First, the legal battle. His threatened lawsuit evaporated the moment my lawyer sent his attorneys the embezzlement file. The criminal case moved fast. Tyler cracked first. Faced with conspiracy charges, his entitlement collapsed. He took a plea deal. He testified against his own father, painting himself as a victim who was just following orders. He avoided jail, but not judgment. He was left with ruined reputation and crushing legal debt. Then came my father. Without his golden son and with my audit notes guiding the prosecution, the trial was a formality. He was convicted of felony fraud and sentenced to 3 years state prison. I didn't attend. After that, the house fell. The foreclosure was swift. The bank seized the home my money had saved for 4 years and sold it at auction. The family name, once protected, became synonymous with fraud. While their world was collapsing, mine was finally starting. A week after the sentencing, my boss called me into her office. I expected questions. Instead, she offered me a promotion, Senior Director of Audits. She said she'd watched me handle impossible pressure with integrity and professionalism. That was the leadership the firm needed. I rode the glass elevator overlooking downtown Columbus and felt something solid settle in me. For the first time, my worth wasn't a transaction. It wasn't debated at a dinner table. It was a fact written into a contract. The ledgers were finally balanced. I never went to the auction. I heard the house sold. I heard my father served his time. I heard my brother now works warehouse shifts trying to pay off lawyers. I never heard from any of them again. That monthly payment I used to send, my peace tax, I started investing in myself. It's quiet now. Not the weaponized silence I grew up with. This silence is just peace. I started writing. I started a small blog. I called it The Scapegoat's Ledger. I wrote about financial abuse, about guilt, about keeping receipts, about tracking the invisible labor of being the responsible one. The response was overwhelming. I realized I wasn't alone. There are thousands of us, people holding families together while being treated as expendable. And if this story resonated with you, like this video. Subscribe to the channel for more stories like this. Share it with someone who needs to hear it, and comment below with your perspective or the key lesson you're taking away.